Hey guys, what's up? Don't mind me, I was just listening to the most hated band in history. You know, I don't know if you guys have seen that Deadpool commercial where Deadpool pretty much outright defends Nickelback. And you know what? I agree with Deadpool. And I'm sure a lot of other people do agree with Deadpool as well. Of course, that would be the diehard Nickelback fans. Now, the reason why we're talking about Nickelback today, the most memed, one of the most hated rock bands in rock history. We're going to be talking about their album from 2003, The Long Road. So, compared to Silver Side Up, which came out in 2001, I think between this album and Silver Side Up, this album is much better. To step up from Silver Side Up. Now, between those two albums, Silver Side Up has grown on me. Songs like Never Again, of course, How You Remind Me was on there. That's Nickelback's biggest song to date, next to probably Rockstar and Photograph. And there's other good songs on that album too, believe it or not. But we're not talking about Silver Side Up today. We're talking about The Long Road. I'll probably talk about Silver Side Up some other time, but let's get started with this album reviews, shall we? So, one more time, there's a look at the back with all the band members. Back when Chad had his ramen noodle hair. Of course, he's got a shortcut now with a spike in the front, which I think looks a lot better than this haircut, but whatever. Just look on the inside. There's the CD and the booklet. So, now, I'm going to go out and say this. And I already know I'm going to get a lot of hate for reviewing Nickelback. Which is fine. This is Nickelback's best album. Yeah. Let me go ahead and say it. This is Nickelback's best album out of their original albums. Believe it or not, this is one of the originals. You had Curb, which came out in 90. Trying to remember. Curb came out in 1990. I want to say 1996. Pretty sure I hit the bullseye with that one. So 1996. Then you had The State, which came out in 1998. And then after The State, we had Silver Side Up, as I mentioned that album earlier. And then in 2003, we got The Long Road. So, and those are pretty much like the original Nickelback albums, which I don't think are bad at all. Now, Silver Side Up, I would say, is the weakest album of the original records from Nickelback, for sure. I think everyone could agree with that. As I stated before, I think this album is miles better than Silver Side Up. But anyway, I'm going to go over some facts about this album. So let's begin. Of course, the artist is Nickelback. We already knew that. Release date was September 23rd, 2003. Now, what I've noticed with albums between 2001 and 2003 is that September seems to be the golden month to release an album when it comes to Nickelback. I don't know if anyone else noticed that release pattern, but I sure did. Okay, so producer was Joey Maui. I hope I pronounced that right. Nominations for this album. We have a Juno Award for Album of the Year. Now, listen, I was very young in 2003, and I love Nickelback, but I think Album of the Year should have been good lord, Meteora by Linkin Park. I think that should have been Album of the Year in 2003. Now, if there are any other albums that came out in 2003 that you think should have gotten Album of the Year, feel free to sound off in the comments below. I am also a big Linkin Park fan, which of course I know you guys know that already. So Album of the Year, Juno Award for Rock Album of the Year, Grammy Award for Best Rock Album. Yeah, so yeah, this album has gotten a lot of awards. Which I think are rightfully deserved. What's next? Okay, genres for this album. Rock. Okay, that makes sense. Hard rock. Okay. Now, these other classifications for genres is just not correct. I know Matt from Matt's World has ranted on Nickelback and pointed this out, and I do agree with you, man. Alternative metal does not make sense. Alternative rock doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Heavy metal, what planet are people living on? I don't understand. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a heavy album, but it's not heavy metal. Pop rock, okay, I can agree with that. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with it. Yeah, but the ones I totally disagree with when it comes to genres: alternative metal, heavy metal, post-grunge. I mean, Nickelback is watered down post-grunge. I wouldn't necessarily call them pure post-grunge, if that makes any sense at all. But yeah, so that's some info on the album. 91% of people like this album according to Google, so that's a good thing. It was liked by a majority of people. And yeah, that is all the information on the album. Now, here's another thing. I don't know why websites always get this wrong, But it says here you can find this album on Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube Music. I use Pandora, and this album's on there. So why isn't Pandora listed on the streaming services? I don't know. Wait a minute. View more. And Deezer. Okay, well, this is on Pandora, so that obviously needs to get changed. And that goes for a lot of artists too, believe it or not. Like, yeah, not every album is on Spotify, not every album is on Pandora, but if you find it on a certain streaming service, but when you look on the internet and one of those streaming services is not listed, it should be listed. That's just misinformation. Alright, so moving on to my favorite songs for this album. I'm going to turn the lights on because it's a little dark in here. I know there's sunlight coming in, but it's kind of hard to really track this thing. Alright, there we go. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so I'll tell you some of my favorite songs from this album. And down in the comments below as well, tell me some of your favorites from this album, if you are a Nickelback fan. Alright, Do This Anymore. That's the second track on the album. I think that song's pretty good. Someday, biggest song from the album. I think the song is overrated and overplayed and overshadows a lot of cuts on this album. See You at the Show is probably one of Nickelback's best closing tracks. I say that with all honesty. I think it's one of Nickelback's best closing tracks. Throw Yourself Away, dark, heavy, great song. Another Hole in the Head, that's a fun one. Really dark title though. God damn. Because of You, that's another good song as well. Feeling Way Too Damn Good, that was another hit from this album. But literally every song on this album gets overshadowed by Someday. Because I guarantee you, a lot of people are going to point to Someday when you talk about this album. And no one's going to talk about Feeling Way Too Damn Good. But when you go to the Greatest Hits compilation that was released in 2013, Feeling Way Too Damn Good made that compilation. So I mean, there were other successful songs on this album other than Someday. And I know a common complaint with Someday is that it's a carbon copy, and again, I do agree with this. It's a carbon copy of How You Remind Me. I mean, there's no way around it. And honestly, now that I think about it, if you take Someday off this album, just entirely off it, and write a completely different song, this album would probably not be as hated as it is. Assuming, well, I mean, it is one of the more popular albums on Pandora, according to top albums when you look up Nickelback on Pandora, but I mean, if Someday comes on, I'm not going to skip it, but whenever I do listen to this album, I'm always listening to the deep cuts because Someday is so overplayed. Also, with this album, you have some of Nickelback's darkest songwriting. Now, with all the right reasons, the album that came out after this, you had dark lyrics just for the sake of having dark lyrics. Like, I honestly think that this album is more genuine when it comes to having dark lyrics on a Nickelback album. And Silver Side Up suffered from that as well. There were some songs that had some dark lyrics, but it wasn't very believable, I guess. But yeah, so. In fact, I'll actually read some of the lyrics from this album just to show you what I'm talking about here. Wow. These are... The print on this is really small. God damn. Okay, I'm gonna do my best to read this. You know what? I'm gonna go get my glasses. Hold on a minute. All right. Wow. This is really small print. God damn. All right, so these are the lyrics to Throw Yourself Away. Baby's born on a bathroom floor. Her mother prays that it'll never cry. But nothing's wrong, you've got your prom dress on. When they ask you, say it isn't mine. Damn. Wash my hands of this. You notice how God isn't even helping you out. Wash my hands of this. Oh, I already read that. Why the hell don't you throw yourself away? Yeah, so I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but yeah, there's some pretty dark lyrics in this album. Got some photos of the band. I think there's a couple more in here. Chad. So, yeah. So what would I rate this album? I would give this album a 7.5 out of 10. That is my honest rating. Yep, so that's my review for The Long Road by Nickelback. Let me know what you guys think about this album. Is it good? Is it bad? Do you love it? Do you hate it? And all that good stuff. So I'll see you guys next time. Rock on.